What is going on, you guys? I'm coming to you today with an Armada build using Ryan Kingston's Fleet Builder, and we are going to be focusing this build on a title called Paragon. This is an assault frigate title. Doesn't really see that much use, at least in my circles, but we're going to run it on an assault frigate Mark IIA. And so here is this title. So basically, the title is when attacking a ship you've already attacked this round, add a black die to your attack pool. Now, it's not the flashiest title, but it is certainly a nice title. Now, Paragon is, designed for you to try to be able to get a double arc on somebody so that so you can have an extra black die, and you can even get that at long range. So that's certainly very good. It's a very fun title. Definitely like it, but it's not the easiest thing to pull off because, one of the things that you kind of have to do to make it work is, you have to double arc somebody and you're only really getting one black die. So is it really worth it? So I figured I would try to come up with a list that would kind of make some synergy and have a little bit more luck out of all of that. So first I'm going to talk about my commander. My commander is going to be Sato. Now, one of the reasons I went with Sato is at the Gen Con Armada promo I picked up was a Sato promo, so I was like, well, let's try and come up with a Sato list. And I figured, I think Sato is going to synergize really well. This is a good ship. The assault frigate is a good ship to use Sato with because it's got at least 2 red dice everywhere. So that's good. So you can roll your 2 black dice, no problem. But yeah, it's also one of those ships that is just very well rounded, and it makes it a decent flagship as well. But because it's our flagship, we're going to give it electronic countermeasures just to try and help keep us alive a little bit longer. In case somebody does try to get that brace, we can make sure that we can cut some of that damage down. We want to stay alive a little bit longer. Another thing I'm going to do here. And this is part of the reason why I'm running the Mark IIA, in addition to the fact that it's got some pretty good anti-squadron firepower, but I don't really want to have to do that too much. I'm going to run Spinal Armament here. Now, the reason I'm running Spinal Armament is this is actually going to make all 4 of my arcs identical. I'm going to have 3 red and 1 blue in every single arc. And that's going to be, pretty good because it makes the, it doesn't give me a weak side. So somebody doesn't have any particular place to try to stay out of. And I just like the flexibility. It doesn't matter where I double arc you from. It's going to be the same. So if I can just put one of those diagonal lines right through your ship, I can manage to get that Paragon title triggered. And it's not going to really benefit me, if it's one side or the other side. So I like that, especially because with, the way it generally works, you're going to try to fly forward at somebody and try to just kind of put one of those forward and, front and side is usually how you want to do that. And that'll make that a little bit better. And if you overshoot them, it just gives you a lot of flexibility. So I like Spinal Armament here. And we are also going to, here's the thing. One of the things you could do, and I'm saving this for points, but you could potentially run disposable capacitors here. Not the best ever use of it, but it's not bad in this case, especially because you have Sato, and if you roll a bunch of black dice at long range, it's really nice to get an accuracy if you can, but we're not doing that. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to put Caitkin and Sholin here. Gunnery teams just doesn't make sense for the title that we're running. I mean, a gunnery team is not a bad upgrade, but in this case, I'm trying to double arc, so gunnery team would be planning for failure, and I want to plan for success. So Caitkin and Sholin is going to be really nice here because I could potentially be rolling all 3 colors of dice, especially like, if I'm at medium range, I'm going to have 3 red and a blue, so I can change the 2 of the red to black, so I can have 2 black, a red, and a blue, and Caitkin and Sholin are going to give me, some options there, and I like that, especially and if I have a concentrate fire, I can do, I can have a whole lot of options. So Caitkin and Sholin, I think, are going to, come to some really good use in this particular case, and I think that's going to be my flagship. So how else are we going to support this? Well, I definitely like the MC-30, but a lot of times people like to run torpedo frigates because they're black and blue, and you know, they can get up close and personal, and they have the shields and the titles to stay alive, and that's great. But I'm going to run an MC-30 scout frigate. The reason, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put spinal armament, so that at least as far as the red dice are concerned, all of the arcs are the same. Now, obviously, the black dice are concerned, the arcs are not all the same, but we can, you know, at a distance as we're flying towards the enemy, if we're flying in, you know, directly at them, we're still going to be able to trigger Sato, you know, to get maximum Sato benefit out of the front and side arcs this way, so we can turn both reds to a black or blue if we need, but yes. Now here's a ship that can do some really cool things with Sato, and I'm going to put assault protons on this one. Assault concussions would be better, but based on the build, I was trying to, you know, squeeze as many points out of various different places as I could. But if you want to change this out, you can totally do that. You know, assault concussions probably better, but I'm going with assault protons in this case, and we are going to also put the admonition title on there. Great title to help keep this thing alive. Especially what's going to be really nice about this is that we still want to get into close range. We still want that. And because we're going to be rolling black dice at any range, hopefully, if Sato's doing his job, we're going to put ordnance experts on there. I mean, that much is a given. But we've just got, you know, so many black dice we can roll with this ship. And, you know, at long range we can roll 2 and then maybe 2 again if we double arc. And up close we can have 3 black or 4 black in the front, and then 5 black on the side. Just a lot of black dice. We do have assault protons on there, so really deadly ship here, even at long range. Very happy with this, you know, with this configuration. Now we're going to go with a little smaller support ship. We're going to go with a hammerhead. The hammerhead is going to be super nasty, and one of the things that this hammerhead is going to run is we're doing another spinal armament here, because we're doing spinal armament in gunnery teams. Now, you don't have to do spinal. I think XI7 or something like that would be good here too, but the idea is this is, you know, you're going to point this hammerhead at your enemies, and you're going to give them you know, 3 red or 2 black and a red, and then 2 black and a red again, you know, to 2 different ships. Again, hammerheads are great with Sato if you can have multiple people in your front arc. You can totally try and make that work. All right, so that's 3 pretty solid, well, you know, 2 kind of heavier ships, 1 light but strong, you know, artillery, kind of a good shooter, but keep them at range. I am going to have 2 GR75s, and I'm going to go with the combat retrofits. I really do like the combat retrofits for a build like this, and you know, one of the things that's cool is you can put disposable capacitors on them. And now here's a ship that went from being a no attack flotilla to a ship that can potentially roll 2 black dice at long range, and it does that by, you know, rolling its blue die at long range, changing it to a black with Sato, and concentrate fire, you know, adding another black. So you can potentially do that, but we're going to keep them just bare bones because I have to, you know, you can't really skimp too much on the squadrons if you're running Sato. You really need those squadrons, and I am skimping a little bit because I wanted to have a lot of firepower. We're looking at 5 ships already on a list that is kind of, lives and dies by the squadrons. So how are we going to make those squadrons count? So here's what I am doing. First off, we're going to run a couple of aces. So we are going to run Tycho. Tycho is, I think, crucial to almost any Sato build, just because he's got the, you know, he's got the scatter and the brace. He can very much stay alive, but not only that is that he can move regardless if he's engaged or not. So that's just absolutely huge. So he can't ever get stuck. He can always go where you need him to go so that he can trigger everything else. Similar and almost as good, but not quite, is Shara Bay. Shara Bay can potentially get locked down, but she's just so much harder to kill because those squadrons that shoot her end up dead really quick, and she does have the scatter to really help her stay alive. But in case she does get locked down, we're going to, of course, we're going to toss an HWK in here. And I was going to fill it out with a couple of Z95s, so I had more and more squadrons. And I could only fit 2, and I decided, you know, instead of running 2 Z95s, I'll put 1 VCX. It's got more hull than, it's almost got the hull of 3 Z95s, which is nice. And it's got strategic, which isn't getting used quite as much from what I'm seeing. And so I think I can swing that in my favor when it comes times for objectives. So that's kind of the idea here. It gives me a little flexibility. And also, I mean, with my GR75s, are obviously going to be doing the squadron commands for the first couple of turns. You know, I can help, you know, with relay if I want to keep the GR75s a little bit farther back. It's just, you know, relay is not really the point. I think the point is that it's a tougher ship and it's got strategic. So, you know, that could just kind of be unexpected and a little bit of fun, because I think you've got to have a little bit of fun in all of your builds. And this brings us right up to 400 points. So we're definitely not trying to be the first player in this case. That's just something you're just going to, you know, granted, if you really wanted to, you could just cut out a whole GR75 and, you know, kind of go for an initiative bid. Four ships is certainly, you know, nothing bad, nothing wrong at all with running only 4 ships. That's totally normal, but I like to have 5. So we're going to look at objectives now. And this is where it gets really tricky, because I am torn on several of these. So first off, assault. Now, this is so tough because I've got Paragon, and I wanted to base this build on Paragon. So I think advanced gunnery is obvious in this case. Like totally obvious in this case. However, it's going to be just so tricky to really make it work. Not really. I mean, it's just because of the fact that this one also gives my opponent a benefit. This one also gives my opponent potentially a really nice benefit, since, you know, I've got a couple of my ships that are a little bit smaller, and 2 of them are flotillas, so they only need to kill 3 ships. So, you know, there is that one, but this is good. It'll make Paragon really deadly. And since Spinal Armament is there, every arc is going to be really nasty. So I have that one. But then again, there's a couple more that I think would really work well. Most Wanted, I think, would work extremely well. And it also works in this entire same thing, because I've got flotillas. I can make one of these GR75s my Most Wanted, my opponent's Most Wanted. I'm going to get an extra die when I'm attacking, right? So it's an extra black die. I mean, think of this MC30. How much damage is he going to be rolling against the Most Wanted ship? So really good against a Star Destroyer. So this is a tough one. But I'm thinking of leaning towards opening salvo, and that's, I think I'm going to get just a little bit more dice than everything else combined with opening salvo, and that's because of the GR75s. So here's what I would basically tell you is that if you decide to run something like this and you go with opening salvo, I think you're fine. If you decide not to go with opening salvo, feel free to downgrade some of these GR75s and maybe have a little bit of an initiative bid. But opening salvo is what kind of prompted me when I was coming up with this build to upgrade these guys both to combat retrofits, because I'm going to be getting, you know, I can get so many more dice. These guys can now roll 4 dice, you know, with opening salvo, and it just gives you so much. It's really nice. You know, a nice surprise to give somebody with your GR75. Oh, surprise! Boom, boom, boom! Just completely destroy somebody. Now, for our yellow objectives, there's a couple of interesting ones. I feel like the ion cannon is always a fun one to do, and it's always kind of safe. But I'm leaning a little bit more towards, and there's a couple of these that are good. Fighter ambush could potentially work, although I like that one better with rogues. But I'm leaning more towards fire lanes in this case, especially with the VCX, because I've got the ability to pull them back a little farther away from me. The other thing that I really like with fire lanes is, and this may be one of my most used yellow objectives, is just that it kind of helps me define the battlefield, and it kind of tells me where my opponent is going to be heading towards. And that's extremely important. Just for those fleets that we're positioning is very, very important. And I think positioning is going to be very important for 3 of my 5 ships. My GR-75s need to be pointed at the enemy fleet so that they can, throw their blue dice. But my hammerhead especially needs to be pointed at the enemy fleet so that I can try to have 2 ships in that frontal arc to make use of the gunnery team and spinal armaments. So that's what I came up with for yellow, and I think that'll work out pretty well. And then for the blue, we want to go ahead and go with Solar Corona. I was tempted a little bit to consider something like Salvage Run. Anytime you've got a VCX and you've got some strategic, you can go with some of these tokens. I mean, you can get a lot of points out of Salvage Run. It might not be a terrible idea. It might not be bad at all. But I like Solar Corona a little bit more. People never want to choose that, and I'm all in favor of it. It's really, I feel very, very comfortable with Solar Corona in this list, especially with those flotillas taking out that accuracy. Is just going to be very, very nice to keep my GR-75s alive and throwing black dice, which is just going to be so much fun. So. Yeah, that is the list, guys. So I will go ahead and put a link down in the description below. Let me know what you think. I really, really hope. The hardest part in putting a list like this together, though, is getting, I think, 3 spinal armaments, because they only come in the Liberty, and a lot of people may only have 1. So feel free to swap them out with something else. Honestly. There's a lot of different ways that you could do it, but XI7 would be good as well. There's plenty of other options, so plenty of ways to tweak the list around a little bit. But the idea here was that Paragon should be fun, and hopefully we can trigger Paragon. And that would be kind of one of those tabletop achievements. Even if you lose, if you manage to take advantage of that title to the best of your ability, then maybe you did something right, and hopefully you had fun. So. Fly the list. Let me know what you think, guys. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. I will put a link to this, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.